Welcome to the Road End podcast. Stay tuned to hear all things LFC.
Hi everyone and welcome to season 3 of the Road End podcast. Today I am joined by Neil Fitzmaurice. Neil is an actor, writer and easily one of the funniest comedians I've ever seen. You may remember him from Phoenix Nights, from That Peter Kay Thing, and he now features in Waterloo Road. Okay, Neil, great to have you on, mate. Thanks for joining. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right, my friend. Yeah, I'm doing all right, Tom. Yeah, all good. Just seeing out the dying embers of the league, aren't we, really? And wishing for better. And thankful that we finished more or less where we have, which is never very good. But anyway, yeah, all good, mate. Just doing a little. My missus asked me to do a little bit of work around the house, and it's going to kill me.
Oh, no. Get me back to work.
A little bit of work's never a little bit of work, is it?
No. 5 minutes is always 5 weeks.
Absolutely, mate.
All right, so I'd like to get into like the earlier things that you got involved in, basically. So obviously a mixed bag of talent, writing, acting, comedian. I'd like to know how you managed to get into basically all three, really. And I have a feeling they sort of fall into each other.
Yeah, they kind of. My main thing has always been to be an actor. I just always wanted to be an actor. I wanted to work in film and TV. Theatre I love, but it takes me away from home too much. So film and TV was what I wanted to do. It was the kind of thing I grew up with, you know. Once I realised I couldn't be a footballer, play for Liverpool, of course, which is a heart-wrenching twang in anyone's life, innit, when they're a Liverpool fan. But so really from school, I went to Anfield Comprehensive, which was flattened a long time ago. Yeah. But I went there, I got into drama, really enjoyed doing it, and then thought, how hard can this be? And of course, it's one of the hardest things to get going in career-wise that there is. I joined an amateur theatre company in Liverpool, the Neptune Youth Theatre at the time it was, now called the Epstein Theatre in town, but it was called the Neptune. And then began a really, really difficult road because I had no one to give me a helping hand in that resort. You know, I had no famous dad as an actor or whatever family member to help me out. It was just starting completely from scratch, and it took me a long, long time. And I was doing theatre in Liverpool and stuff, and it was basically a lack of any kind of progression with the acting that led me into stand up because I suddenly noticed that there was a lot of comedians were crossing over into drama. So you had like your Robbie Coltrane's and your Emma Thompsons, and these were all like kind of Cambridge footlights. Yeah, Cambridge or Oxford, who went to the Edinburgh Fringe every year and did sketch shows, and they invariably got picked up. So I had this mad idea that if I do stand up, it'll sort of segue into trying to get actor work, and it kind of worked in a way. Funny enough, I started doing stand up in Liverpool. I entered, in my own. We had a pub at the time in Liverpool. We had a club called Rimini's Wine Bar. Me and my brothers, and his brother sort of forced me into doing stand up. Really, he said he'd printed posters. And once the posters have been printed, you're in trouble if you don't do it, you know what I mean? So
yeah.
I started doing stand-up there, and then I entered the Liverpool Echo competition, stand-up of the year. I hadn't been gigging long anyway, but I won it.
Oh wow.
So well, there might be something in this, you know what I mean? So I entered a couple of I found that the quicker way of doing things was to enter competitions rather than, which a lot of comics do, and I did do to a certain extent, slogging around the country doing 15 minutes here and 10 minutes there. It can take a lot out of you. So I just went straight for these competitions, and I got to the final of a couple of competitions, and one of them was the BBC New Comedy Awards, and I was in the final in Edinburgh it was televised for the BBC, and I was in the final with Peter Kay. But I'd met Peter in the round before because the semi-finals were held in a famous comedy club called the Frog and Bucket in Liverpool, in Manchester.
Yeah. Still going strong.
Still going strong, yeah. So I got through to the regional finals there, and then one winner was going to the Edinburgh final, the national final, and they couldn't split me and Peter part, which was great for me because I only had about a handful of people down. I had my wife was with me. And her brother and sister, her brother and his brother's wife, sorry. And so there was only about half a dozen of us. And Pete was already a bit of a legend, even though he hadn't been going very long. So it was great. They were really flattering, and they sort of said, "Look, we can't we can't split these two. They've gone down so well, so we're going to send them both. So me and Pete went to the final, and we shared a flat for a few days in Edinburgh, and that's kind of when we first got to know each other, really. And on the way back, he asked me to if I did a bit of writing, or would I do a bit of writing on a little thing he had called the A6, which was it was a documentary about him and Dave Spikey travelling along the A6 is the longest day road in the country.
Yeah.
So they asked me to. He had like a segment clear, and he said, "Do you want to write a character?" So I wrote this theatre manager, and that was the first time we worked together, really. And then from that came the Peter Kay thing, which was the forerunner to Phoenix Nights. But at the same time, I'd written a feature film script because of a mate of mine who was getting into film production. He'd found out about these ways you could fund film through tax. It was only diverting tax. It was only tax referral. It wasn't tax deferral. It wasn't you don't pay tax, you have to pay it. But it was a way of funding movies. It came out for a bit and then it got lynched because it was. I think the tax man wasn't too happy with the way they were things. By then we'd shot it. So I'd written a feature film called Going Off Big Time, and we shot it in Liverpool, in and around Liverpool, and then it was released into the Cannes Film Festival. It got selected, and then it was mad. It just went from nowhere, from scratching my arse in my house, wondering what I was going to do, to writing Phoenix Nights and having a film out. So it all went pretty quickly after that, really, and that's kind of how the whole thing's intersected,
Yeah, well, I was gonna ask you a little bit about Phoenix Nights, obviously, because that's what I want to know about, and that's what obviously people want to talk about. So I'll go ahead with that first, actually. One of my favorite characters from any TV show, and I still have the same bit of a laugh with my mum about it, is RayVon. Now, you must get asked to do stuff all the time about him, but how did that character come about? Because it's so random, but absolutely brilliant.
Well, what happened was, pretty much like all the characters in that show, someone met someone like that at some point. In my formative years, from about the age of 16 to 18, I joined a DJ, a traveling DJ, and I helped him pack and stack his records, and I helped him. I quite like DJing at the time. I mean, I'm talking, somebody's handed in a door key type DJing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like weddings and parties and stuff. So this guy had this disco called Sky Discos, and he sort of took me on. So I just unpack the car, pack the car, take the records, albums out, stuff. But then if he wanted to go for a cheeky ciggy around the corner, I'd mix a few records and stuff. And that's just sort of where you got into that sort of thing where they talk like that. They didn't really talk like that, but there was a standard DJ voice that you had to do. And instead of it being 12:15, it was, 15 after 12.
Yeah.
It's all that kind of American DJ. So that's kind of where his voice came from, was this old DJ that I used to work for. And they all sound the same. They all pretty much have that same kind of monotone sort of disco-y voice. So, yeah, and then he came about, really, we decided to make him a traveller. Just because I think it was just a nod to the travelling community, really, as well. And the fact that he could think on his feet, and he could, wire a club up to a lamppost and stuff like that. We just thought it was a good backstory that he was on the waltzers, and because that's that kind of, you want to go faster and all that sort of thing. On the roller coasters and all that, and so it just fitted that he was a funfair DJ, really, as we saw in series 2. He was on the Caterpillar rides, and saying, "Please stay seated or you may die," with a load of 6-year-olds on Caterpillars. But that's really where we got RayVon from. It was just a mixture of that, and then of course because he was from Bolton, he had to sort of do that as well. So when he wasn't on stage doing that, he was talking like that. He was never Scouse. So.
I've got the box set still. I literally got it out before. Oh, I could watch it over and over. It's one of them programs that you can just relate to, can't you?
It is. It's also one of the programs that would never get made anymore.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah,
such is the world we live in nowadays. I mean, a lot of it I totally accept. A lot of language that was used, a lot of descriptive language that was used. I'm glad it's gone. Yeah. But I think you cast a wide net. You bring so much stuff in, don't you? And I think I on the odd occasion I do have a look at it. I don't look at it very much. I don't look at anything I'm in really. So, but when I do, I think, you know what, there might have been the odd thing that, you had a racist folk band, but there was always, they never got to play because the lecky went. So it was one of them where I think if you make them people the victims, then everyone's having a bit of a laugh at them. But, the lines have been played somewhere along the way. But it was great fun. I mean, it was such a wonderful show to do.
Working with Peter Kay and Paddy's brilliant as well. Let's not forget him. And obviously everybody else in the cast. That must have just blew up once that come out. Obviously, you've been in a lot of stuff, and you mentioned the Cannes Festival and things like that. But would you say that was probably the best time you've had as an actor, or as a comedian as well?
I mean, yeah. I mean, going off big time will always be the most special job to me because I wrote it's come from a blank page. It went from a blank page. It went out of my head onto a screen. And then me and the wife are in Cannes drinking champagne, thinking, what the hell is this about? Not just, don't get me wrong, so many people. What makes it so special is how many people, my brothers were all involved, my family were involved, my friends were involved, and it gave opportunities to a lot of actors who weren't getting any work, including myself. So to have that and then culminating in Samuel L. Jackson coming to your premiere, in the showcase on the East Lancs, the whole thing was a bit of a fairy tale, I think Phoenix Nights was probably the most fun I've had on a set because I wasn't carrying the burden of writing and being the main star of a film, which I was with Going Off Big Time. But I think of all the jobs I've done, certainly TV, let's just say TV.
Yeah.
Phoenix Nights is head and shoulders above because we were all mates, we were all stand-up comics. I was the only one really with a bit of an acting background, and the rest of them weren't, and Steve Edge had a bit as well, I think. But every day was an absolute joy. We were just ripping the piss out of each other every day and just having a laugh. And a lot of the stuff we did, when you watch it again, none of the audience knew what was going on. The real punters of the club are the ones in the background mostly, yeah. We'd pepper a few, what you call SAs, background artists, supporting actors, SAs. We used to call them extras years ago. But we'd sort of supplement them into the crowd. But most of the crowd, the old people in the crowd, were members of Farnworth Labour Club, which is where we shot it. And they didn't have a clue what was going on. So when I come on doing Dutch Hard House, Big Italian, and smoking them out, they didn't have a clue what was going on. We wanted that idea that when the camera panned across to them, they were just totally shocked and confused.
So you think they're actually acting when you see that because
some are. Yeah. When you see normally the really old ones who are disgusted, that's all real. They didn't have a clue what the hell we were getting up to. Are
you still in touch with the lads from the show?
Yeah, I did a gig the other week, actually. Weird. I don't really do many gigs anymore, stand-up wise, but I did one with Archie Kelly, who played Kenny Senior, Kenny Dalby Senior, and Janice, who played Holy Mary, Janice Connolly, who is now Barbara Nice, really. But so I did a little gig with them, and I spoke to Peter a couple of months ago, and the rest is just how you keep, keeping up with each other on Twitter and social medias and stuff, just seeing if everyone's all right. And everyone's doing okay.
Good. Well, obviously you can't go into anything and things like that. Obviously, Peter had the big tour booked and had to cancel for whatever reason, but he's got that tour that he's going on now, which is for the next couple of years, which is fantastic to see him there again. Is he okay?
Yeah, he's okay. He's just gigging at weekends. So the reason why it's going to drag on for years is because, flow for years, is because he just wants to do weekends. I think it's just the pressure of and the actual exertion of doing a whole week. Yeah, would be a little bit much, I think. So he's just doing Fridays and Saturdays, I think, or Saturdays and Sundays. But yeah, no, he's back at it, and that's great. That's great for everyone, isn't it? Yeah, brilliant.
Okay, I had Dave Kirby on in the last season, and Dave's brilliant. He's local to me, and I've stayed in touch with him since. He's a cracking fella, as you know. You was in 15 Minutes That Shook the World, and you was Rafa Benitez, which is absolutely brilliant. How did that role come about as Rafa Benitez?
So I've known Dave for years. He's a mate of mine, Dave, and he phoned me up one day. He said, "Do you want to come into town? I want to have a little chat with you." So I went into town and had a coffee with him, and he said, "I want to do a story about what happened in them 15 minutes at half time for us to go from getting humiliated by AC Milan to winning the European Cup." So I said, "Oh, that sounds brilliant." He said, "I want you to play Rafa." And I said, "Not a chance, mate." So he said, "Why?" I said, "Because I'm a massive Red." Rafa was obviously still the manager there. I said, "And I'm not a hugely confident person, although the job title would suggest otherwise, but I'm not really." And the thought of me getting it wrong would have been, I said, if I can't walk into, if I'd walk into Anfield and get stick, or I'd felt like I'd let the fans down and done something a bit ropey and it wasn't good enough, I said, I wouldn't be able to face it. I wouldn't be able to live with myself. It's it's an important part of my life, the club and the team. And I thought, no, I don't get someone else, mate, because I don't want to. So anyway, he sort of he left it at that. And then I didn't realise, but my brother Tony, who's a producer as well, who produces stuff, he'd been roped into producing it. I think it was a very clever tactic by Dave. So then I went away to do Peep Show, because I was doing Peep Show. And I would be doing that for 4 or 5 days a week in London, and then come home for a weekend. And my brother phoned me up, and he was pestering me to do it. Yeah, do this, kid, do this thing. And I said, "So it's Rafa, man. I can't do impressions." And so it was a bit of emotional blackmail, to be honest with you. Tony just said to me, "Look, I'm in a bit of a bind here. I'm producing it." And I went, "You didn't tell me that." So anyway, I said, "Look, all right, I'll do it." There's the moment of madness. I said, "I'll do it." I was in London. And he said, "Everything's booked for," say this was the Thursday, everything was booked for the next day. So I had to, and I was coming home. So I had to come home. I might have had a day's grace, but in fact, I had a day or two. But it was happening in a few days. And I'm like, man alive, not only have you got me doing a really difficult job, but I've got no time to prep it. I had to learn Spanish, and only Spanish for phrases and stuff. So I came home, and it was really kind of worrying me that I thought all the way through I had this impending doom that I was going to knacker it up, And then I said, I can't look like Rafa anyway. And then my bird shaved me head, and I went, "Oh, this might work. This I didn't realise I had the potential to look." So what happened was, I had said to him as well, the director at Iliu and you, who's a good mate of mine. I said, "Look, I want a closed set. It's intimidating enough, but I don't want people watching. I don't want a load of people behind the camera watching. I want to just be able to come and do it professionally and then nail it and whatever I get wrong." Anyway, a very odd thing happened, really, because when we turned up on the day to film, and not only was there about 80 people behind the camera watching, so that didn't go down very well.
No.
But what happened was, I didn't know that at the time, actually. But what happened was, I got into a dressing room and I put the jacket on, and I put the tie on, and I put the shirt on. And this sounds really wanky, this. I don't know whether you edited this out, so apologies. But this sounds like the kind of thing where I hear an actor doing it on Parkinson or something, and they go, "Oh, shut your tit." But actually what happened was, it didn't feel right. The glasses weren't right. This sounds really bizarre. So I said, "Tony, the glasses aren't they're not the right glasses. They're not." It turns out, I think, on the night in Istanbul, he wasn't wearing glasses. But ever since then, he'd had glasses on. So my brother ran out the place we were filming in, and he went to Silverberg's, the opticians, and he got an array of glasses, and he came back. And when I found a pair of glasses that really, when I looked in the mirror, I just looked like Rafa. I felt like Rafa, And then he sort of had he's only got short arms, Rafa. He's a bit of a Pickford. So anyway, it was weird. I got all the stuff on, and I said, "Right, I'm ready to do this now." And I walked down the corridor, and I could see people going, "Fucking hell." And it sort of made me feel that I can pull this off. We did it in 2 takes. I opened the door it was just a false door that I'm standing behind. It's supposed to be I'm coming in from the dressing room. They're all lying on the. If you haven't seen 15 minutes, give it a look. I'm sure you can talk with it. But it is 15 minutes to shut the world on YouTube. It's been over 1 million views a long time ago. So
it's unbelievable, by the way. So yeah, make sure you have a look.
Yeah, so it's all done to the tune of "My Way," the Frank Sinatra song, and Dave reworded it, did it slightly out of tune so he didn't get sued. And it's just Rafa saying about, turning the game around. And I did it it was mad. It was done in 2 takes, really. We did all the main stuff in one, and then we did little individual bits. But it's just one of them classic examples of when something comes together in the last minute. When you feel, it's mind over matter. When you feel like you can do something, it's 90% of doing it. You might not look the part, you might not, but if you've in your head, it's why Tyson Fury's the world champion, because he's a nutcase who loves having a fight. Yeah. And in his head, he can't be beaten. And that was what I took from doing the Rafa thing, was that, the moment I felt like I was him, I knew I could pull it off. And
did he ever get in touch?
Well, he came to the premiere of it, and he said, I wasn't wearing glasses then, and I'm not left-handed. But apart from that, it was fantastic. It's probably a really Rafa thing to say because he was very technical, Rafa, wasn't he? But no, it was one of them ones where I look back now, and every time if a red turns around to me and says that was great, that mate, then that's all I ever heard. That's all I ever wanted to hear. I just didn't want to let them down. And then I did one night in Istanbul on stage, and Rafa came alongside me, jumping up and down with the
That's brilliant.
Yeah, it is.
Since he had the Everton job, it made it even better.
Yeah, it was even funny when he did that. Oh yeah, Operation Agent Benitez was nearly a success.
You're currently in Waterloo Road.
Yeah.
How's that been for you in comparison to what you've done in the past?
It's great, man. It's just I just love acting. I love that because that's the thing I wanted to do. That's the time I feel at my happiest, really. Other than being at home, being shouted at, or being doing jobs, breaking me back. Other than being at home, if you go out to work and you enjoy it, and I have been blessed. I've enjoyed every job I've done. Really, it's been a couple where it all depends on the cast you're with, and some actors and actresses can be a bit of an arse, you know what I mean? And I think being from Liverpool, we're quick to judge sometimes, but I think we're also very, very quick to put the shield up if someone's being a bit of a dick, you know what I mean? And I think that's something it's quite a great thing. I think it's quite a proud thing to be Liverpool. I'm very proud to be from Liverpool and very proud to know that we support anyone in anything they want to do. We don't ever want to let anyone down in anything. We'd stand next to someone on the picket line without really knowing what the picking them was about, but we do it because that's what we should do. And I think that's the same thing as if you meet an arsehole. God rest his soul, my dad used to have a saying, if it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it's a duck. If someone looks like a dickhead and talks like a dickhead, he's a dickhead. So I've been in jobs where I've gone, this is going to be hard work, this. But mostly 99% have been great. Where it differs is that it's mostly drama and but I love drama. I mean, people used to say to me, "Oh, right, you're a comedy actor." I'd say, "No, I'm an actor." It's just that I'm known for comedy. But I did an ITV drama called Mobile, which is written by a Liverpool lad, John Fay from Kirby, and that was a really serious drama about a guy with a brain tumor who was killing people. So I've done lots of serious drama as well. So the good thing about Waterloo Road is it's a bit like Mount Pleasant, which I love doing. I did that on Sky for many years. Whereas you get to do a bit of drama and a bit of comedy as well. So with my character, I play a character called Neil, funny enough. They asked me if I wanted to play a character called Neil, who was a teacher who didn't understand kids, who didn't really get modern life, who didn't really know what to say to because he might be insulting someone. And I thought, yeah, that's not going to be much of a stretch for me, that, to be honest.
You in a nutshell?
That's pretty much me. Me teaching history. So it's great. It's great fun. You get to work with young rising stars. Some of them are unbelievable. You think, wow, they are destined, man. And I get to work with some seasoned pros as well who are fantastic. Angie Griffin, and who I've worked with before, but she's just amazing. And it's just such a lovely job to do. It's great, man. It's going down really well, which is good because it's been going for 10 years before we took it up. So
yeah, is that 11th season or something like that now?
The first season we've had out, now we're on season 12, started last week. I think episode 2 was last night. So you're sort of taking up the mantle at Denise Welsh and all that lot, you know what I mean? And Lizzie Berrington, some really good actors were in the old one. So,
yeah,
people are enjoying it. And of course, it deals with so many different issues now. It's dealing with gender reassignments and different gender roles and sexual preferences, gender-wise, and stuff. And there's so many different things so the writers do a great job, I think, just to make it,
current.
To make it current, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk a bit about Liverpool then. Born and raised in Liverpool, as you've said, Anfield Comp, massive Liverpool supporter. Who was your hero growing up?
I mean, Dalglish sounds cliched, but I was at that time when I'm born and bred in St. Domingo Vale, so I'm right by the ground. And my earliest memories are running down as a kid, 3/4 time, they called us, when the big red gates had opened, basically let people out. And I'd run up. So I'd be like, when you go the wrong way in IKEA and you've got to go back through everyone.
Oh, it's a nightmare.
Well, I'd be doing that all the way up the stairs as a kid. And I just remember, especially when the nights were drawing in the winter and it was dark, I just remember running up them stairs and hitting the top bit and seeing that shaft of green, that beautiful green with the floodlights on it. And it's such a romantic kind of memory for me. It's such a vivid memory as a child. And then when you get cognitive with it, and you know who's what, you know, it was that 80s side really, with Dalglish, and particularly towards the latter end with Aldo and Barnsley and all that. You know, Rush, of course. You know, they were my old heroes. But Dalglish, I think, who I've got to meet on various occasions, and he's one of the people that you still sort of pinch yourself when you meet him. And I've met a lot of famous people, but Kenny Dalglish, man, he's just a boy, wasn't he? And he still is. He's such a fantastic. In fact, he shouted down the road after me once, Rafa! Rafa!
Did he?
First times I met him, yeah, he was drunk in there. I was in London, and his daughter, I was shooting something in London, and I was staying in an apartment in, what's it called now? Chiswick. And his daughter had the apartment below, and he was having a christening of one of his kids. And I'd never met him before, and he watched the 15 minutes, and he recognised me going into the hotel, into the apartments. So he's like, "Hi, Rafa!" It was just phenomenal, you know. I'll never get over that. And then modern day heroes, you know, Steven Gerrard, just utter legend, didn't he? And I'm one of the best I've ever seen put a red shirt on as Luis Suarez. Just a kind of a jaw-dropping football and expedition. Absolutely free. He chased a throw in for 50 yards to stop it going out. A phenomenal. And of course, you know, God, we've been blessed, haven't we? Latterly, we've had the best team on the planet, as far as I'm concerned. Certainly one that doesn't spend £500 million a season trying to correct things and break 115 different rules. I used to say to my kids, imagine not supporting Liverpool. Because I don't understand how anyone does. It's not support them. They're just an amazing team. I know everyone listens to this who isn't Liverpool say, shut up, you know. But the things they've took us through, the places they've took us, the finals, the moments of utter euphoria have just been phenomenal. You know, I read a stat the other day that someone sent me on. It's been, in fact, I did it on a pod recently. And Liverpool have never finished outside the top 8 in 60 years. They've never finished outside the top 8 since the league was formed. And it's only Barcelona is the only world football club in world football that can boast the same stats. And I know we're all moaning at the moment because things haven't gone the way we want to by our own levels of achievements. When you raise the bar so high, it's difficult, isn't it? But we'll be back with a couple of players short of getting right back on their tails. And Arsenal have just proven that they couldn't even do it for one season. So they just highlighted how phenomenal this Liverpool team was. All I think he has to do now is realise that, which you know he has, is realise that the old Gengen press has been gotten onto. The bombing down the wings caught everyone by surprise. But they're onto it, aren't they? So we just need to recruit in the right places. I'm just hoping that behind the scenes isn't going a bit ropey because, you know, you've had, I think, is it Ian Douglas left and Michael Edwards, you had a little trifecta there. No one seems to be jumping ship, and I'm just hoping that isn't because things are changing. But I hope there are a couple of players, and we'll be right back at it, Tom. Definitely, because it's just great, isn't it? Supporting them, isn't it?
It is, and it's like you've said there. It's one of them seasons where, do you know what, we're allowed to have it, and seeing the people panicking, it just calm down a bit, take a step back, and look where we've been for the last 5 or 6 years. A season out of this shows how difficult it actually is, because, like you've just said, Arsenal's arses fell out, whether you like to say that or not. The pressure that City put on,
8 games ago they fell out.
Yeah.
You know, they did it to us. They've won 14 games on the trot. We know what they're capable of because they can buy £100 million players to put forward on the bench. They're in a different stratosphere. It's ridiculous. It's pathetic, really. Financial fair play is just a joke. But look what we've done and what we've done, and we'll be back to do it because we have the greatest coach in the world in world football, as far as I'm concerned. And you know, football fans, by their very definition, Liverpool are great, but there are obviously football fans of every club that have no patience at all. I've seen Arsenal getting booed at half time by their fans.
Yeah.
And then come back and win. And you go, well, that's embarrassing, isn't it? So, you know, we'll always get factions of our fans as well going, what's going on? And did you annoy me? They annoyed me the hell out of me. And I was at the Spurs game and I went to the toilet at 3-3. As soon as that beak-nosed Richarlison, the toucan, as soon as he added that ball in there, I got up and went to the toilet. I said, I can't cope with 3-0. We've absolutely capitulated. And I missed his goal, man. I was taught a very stern slap on the hands from the gods. Don't ever leave your seat until that whistle goes when them Reds are playing because they can do anything. And
that just made everything better though when we scored again, didn't it? And it was him.
It was him. It was against that little knob. He was still celebrating the thing, swinging his shirt around his head. So it's one of them, innit? Look, we could be across the road from Stanley Park, and look, do you know what I mean? We've put a great run together towards the end because things started to fit. Klopp's been saying it for years. He doesn't get a chance because because it's a relentless league, he doesn't get a chance to implement his changes. It takes longer. You know, they have a game, they have a day off, they have a game, they have a day off. It's Wednesdays and Saturdays mostly in it. So it's just now starting to fit, and Trent's starting to flow into that really dangerous position. And once we get around that, and once we get a bit of backup for that, and once we get, I think we need at least, I think we need a couple of decent, world-class midfield players. The Bellingham thing's unforgivable for me, and I think
likewise.
It's all right to say we started the season with not realising that Fabinho would forget how to play football for half of it, or we'd have injuries that we didn't expect. That's all well and good. I can get that. I love the fact that Klopp is an honourable man who doesn't just throw players away. I love that. I love that he makes them work as much as he can for them, and I love that what is unforgivable is once you've got a hole in your boat, you plug it. And we had a hole in our boat when the transfer window opened. We had a massive hole in our boat. And the answer to that hole wasn't Artemelo. And it's not even his fault. But that to not get anyone then, after what happened with our centre-back situation, was unforgivable.
Wasn't it? Yeah.
Unforgivable. And as far as I'm concerned, the lack of ambition is unforgivable as well. You know, it's Bellingham's. You pay £120 million for one player, you're getting him for 10 seasons before he's at his prime. He's only 24. Well, after 10 seasons, he's only 19 now, just turning 20. It's remarkable that they've, and so let's see who they get. He said he don't want to spank all the money on one player. Well, what are they going to? They're going to get three. Them, don't get three. They're talking about a Kiffin getting a centre back from Crystal Palace already, but it's that thing again of you've got to find a balance. You get yourself a couple of £20 million players if you think they've got the potential. Get a McAllister in the middle, or I'd like Barella. I mean, he impressed in both those Milan derbies. He was very impressive, mate, wasn't he?
Yeah, he's when he's got the ball, he just makes everything look easy, and I think we need that.
Really creative, but he grafts. He's box to box. He's tough, and we need someone like that. I mean, Fabinho, you can see him getting back into the game now because of Curtis Jones. Funny enough, has a bit of pressure on him. But of course, we just didn't react very well to being pressed. The pressers didn't like being pressed, did they? So
no,
we need to just get a grip now, get this game out, get this season out the way, and then recamp and go again, mate. Don't we?
Yeah, it's an important summer for us, and it's been an important transfer window the last 3 or 4. But I think the screw will turn if it doesn't happen this summer. For me, we've got to a point now where if we don't invest, top 4 or 5 may run away from us, and we can't let a manager, probably of our generation, go with just the trophies he's got now, because he deserves so much more than that, and so do we as fans. To be fair,
the one personnel I don't want to ever see leave Anfield in the not too distant future is Klopp. I don't care about the players, just keep Klopp. And if he's done an amazing job of keeping a smile on his face when he must be very frustrated. He knows exactly what he wants when he wants it, and he knows that they're not. And then they're chucking the club up for sale and saying, "Well, we don't want to sell it. We want 800 million quid, but we still who's going to give them 800 million quid and not be given any power?" So it's a bit of an untenable situation at the moment with them, and it's all out of our hands, mate, and there's nothing we can do about it. Liverpool will remain regardless, but and we'll keep supporting them. But they deserve, like you say, they deserve better than he deserves better than what's been going on, and we'll all reap the results of that, mate.
Yeah. So I'm going to finish the podcast with a few points from this season, and it'll be going into next season. There's some of the questions. So, player of the season for you this season, and why?
It's a tricky one. That I mean, Salah's done that thing again of scoring loads of goals without us noticing, really, hasn't he? He's just It's a tough one to. I mean, the problem is we haven't really had the same 11 for long enough, have we? What with injuries, and it's got to be Alisson. Alisson. Sorry, I don't even know why I took so long thinking. I was going through the team front to back, and then saw this big bearded genius at the back. We'd have been 8th, 10th, 12th without the goalkeeping genius of Alisson. So it's Alisson Becker all day.
Okay, and best moment of the season?
No, you've got your 7-0 slaughter of Man United. I filmed in Manchester. I was going in with the tins of 7-Up one night the next day, handing them out. There are so many of them, mate. That's the beauty of it. Even in a season that we think is disappointing, they still give you so many incredible memories, don't they? I mean, we just talked about the winner against Spurs when we'd seemingly shot ourselves in the foot. Incredible. What's yours? And I'll see if
I can't look past United, and I think it's not a moment, but it's one of them games where 20, 30 years down the line, I'll probably still be talking about that.
Yeah, I've watched the stuff because you've got that kid Goldstein, haven't you? Whatever his name is, who goes on, the Alan Partridge of YouTube. But even then, when you put a collection of them together, when you know it's going to be 7 and you see them at 1 going bananas, it's so much fun, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just sit back, kick your shoes off, open a bag of Monster Munch and crack away watching them. Just 4-0, 5-0. Oh, they can't be any more. 6-0. Okay. So probably we share that one, mate. I think if we went back, we'd probably find a lot more. But you tend to that one stuck out, didn't it? Giving it that, giving it 7. Like.
Okay, the biggest disappointment for you this season?
Just mentioned it. I think the non-signing of a player who is so much of a Liverpool player is unbelievable. So much of a Steven Gerrard. I mean, that kid's is an absolute worldie. We can see it. You know it. He's strong. He's versatile. He's clever. He's attacking. He's defensive. And the not signing of him, I think, was a huge statement of intent from FSG. It was a huge statement of what their ambition is.
That was their moment, wasn't it?
That was their moment to go, we'll be out. Look what you've done to us. We got this club for 360 million quid. We're putting it on the books for 4 billion. We've just took out a loan to do the stand. They took out a loan through Liverpool Football Club to build the Anfield Road extension. They're not even paying for it with their own money. So do us a favour. All right, they're not Hicks and Gillette. They're way above Hicks and Gillette. But if it's that difference in it between loving a club, owning a club that you believe in, and you want to see the very best of, balancing books with a club, with a view to buying another club, and that's what we've got. Unfortunately, it's very much, I think, the American way. If you look at it, it's interesting. If you look at how many American owners have actually succeeded in the Premiership, it's probably not that many.
No, Chelsea have got a crazy one.
Chelsea have got it now. The Glazers, everyone wants them out. You know, there is an interesting thing, isn't there, where you sort of look and think it seems to sort of form a bit of a pattern. And listen, they've spent a lot of money on players, and that's appreciated, but they need to listen to what's being said to them. And he was a massive loss. He's the biggest disappointment, definitely. Sorry, I keep trying to...
No problem at all. Okay, so last question. What do we need for the new season?
I'd like to see a seasoned right back, because regardless of what happens with Trent, he needs cover, because that transition period was difficult for him, and I think he's got an amazing strength of character to come through it and be the player that we all knew he is anyway. Dipped there for a while, he was getting caught with all the stuff. He got caught, let's face it, the Villa goal was down to him not looking over his shoulder again, caught in 2 minds. So I think he either has to go, we've got a right back and you go in midfield, or we're doing this thing again where he goes into floats off to midfield, and you've got Kanate floating across, and I just don't think that's it. It leaves loads of room.
Too much responsibility for Kanate, that for me.
Too much responsibility. It leaves too many gaps, and it leaves anyone watching any of our previous games under that system will have us bang to rights. So I feel like a right back is needed. Probably another sensible defender, which is, I think he was looking at this young kid at Palace who's supposed to be really, really good. I think it's Romeo.
You got Lavio from Southampton in midfield, but you've got
no, you're absolutely right. It's Southampton, but there is
Gay at Palace.
That's who it is, isn't it? Is he a centre back? Yeah, that's the centre back at Palace. I'm mixing them both up. Guy from Southampton looks very good as well. But it's just I'd love a McAllister or a Pereira there. Someone you know is world class, who's been there, who's been up there. And I thought we'd seen the back of the £15 million signings and that. You know what I mean? That was the way we want it, where they'd come in and say, "Oh, these have got loads of potential." They wouldn't show any, and they'd leave. Mm-hmm. I've had enough of the Barinos in my life, and Barini. I've had enough of them, really, and Anthony Letellic. You know what I mean? Yeah. I'd rather see them stamping some authority on the team by saying, because McAllister's no doubt about it. McAllister's a solid player, and I think he would really open up the midfield. But we need definitely at least 2 world-class centre mids, one attack and one defensive.
Agreed.
And especially with Bobby going, because we're going to miss that kid.
Don't start me off.
Plan B. He was always the plan B, really. We didn't really have a plan B, but whenever the team throws 10 behind the ball, we struggle. We struggle all the time. We struggled against exactly what Villa did. We struggle. And then he was someone who could just read that little bit and give you that little bit of space between the lines, couldn't he? So I'm hoping that, you put your faith in Klopp, don't you? Because look what he's done for us. He knows what he's doing.
All right, Neil. Well, let's call it a pod there, mate. Appreciate your time today. Obviously, it's been a bit of time in the making with how busy you've been. So I appreciate you spending your time with me and getting this out there. So I wish you all the luck with Waterloo Road and obviously any projects you've got coming up. But yeah, it's so good to see someone from Liverpool doing well. So hats off to you, mate.
Well, thanks, Tom. Really appreciate it, mate. Sorry it's taken so long. And
No.
And it's been good. You've had your kitchen done twice since.
Yeah, spanker this.
No, all the very best, mate, and all the Reds out there who listen to the show. All the very best. You support the best team in the world, mate. Get behind them all the time, as we always do. And onwards and upwards.
Yeah, nice one, mate. See you soon.
Thanks to everyone for listening in to today's podcast, and thank you to our amazing guests. Without them, this wouldn't be possible. Don't forget to follow us on social media, twitter.com/The Road End Pod, and on Instagram, Instagram/The Road End Pod.